Safe haven. As the crypto market reels from yet another scandal, BTC is chilling in the 90s as big entities continue buying. Altcoin ETFs. Regime change at the SEC begins to be felt and more spot crypto ETFs are looking likely. Could this be the catalyst to re-inject some hope into the market? Crime season. The president of Argentina is in hot water for promoting a meme coin, while the crypto community fumes at the insiders who made millions from it. Why this is a new low. And a look at last week's top performers, tweets of the week, dates for your diary, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Welcome everyone, a very happy Monday to one and all of you. Nic, good to see you again.
Good to be back. How are you back, Guy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to be back.
Yep. Enjoying being back here in at the Coin Bureau HQ after a weekend away. I will share some details about that later on if we have the.
You chose an amazing time to come back into the crypto space.
I really did. I was
surprised you actually came back.
Yeah, part of me thought maybe after the stuff that's been going down in the last few days, part of me thought maybe I should just walk away from this whole industry, because it has been true. I mean, we've been in this game for a while.
Yeah. A lot this weekend. The sentiment on CT was really, really low.
Yeah. I mean, it is disgraceful. Yeah. Really, some of the stuff that we've been seeing. So obviously, we're going to talk about that today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've got a lot to discuss, of course, but we will start off, as we always do, by talking about we're going to talk about the good news, which is the price of Bitcoin. The good news being that it hasn't done an awful lot.
Chopping sideways. If you consider chopping sideways is good news. Yeah. Many people would consider that arguably worse, but at least it's not falling. So obviously, let's start what happened last week. Just a bit of a rundown of the news. First of all, I will note that Saylor did not post the Saylor tracker yesterday, which is interesting. So it potentially means that he didn't buy any coins last week.
Okay.
He did announce during our live stream last week that he bought the week prior. So you see there he bought 7,633 BTC. So still accumulating according to the 21-21 plan. So you guys let us know in the comments if he does drop the announcement during the live. Here's hoping though. Here's hoping. Let's just hope that he forgot to try to post the Saylor tracker. Of course, on Wednesday, there was the news, as we alluded to in the news last week. The CPI print came out. Now, it was way hotter than expected, right? Okay. So, yeah, you can take a look at the CPI charts here. It was up. The headline was up quite a lot, although core was relatively flat, slightly up. It was both above expectations, which is obviously not good because it means the Fed is less likely to cut. We saw BTC fall immediately on the news. So that's the CPI print. That's the 1 hour candle. Interestingly as well, the 10-year rallied, which is a sign of the market. So this is the 10-year yield on US treasuries. It rallied a lot. Look at that spike.
Oh, that's the sort of spike we would kill for in crypto right now.
Kill for, although that is the cost of debt going up substantially in the world economy because of inflation potentially. But yeah, that's what we saw. Although on some positive news, the Bitcoin did recover because the US dollar was still falling, weakening. So this is the Dixie index. You can still see it in that descending wedge pattern over there. So generally, dollar weakness is good for risk assets.
Okay.
So looking at a few things as well, some bad news, and then I'll give some good news. We've got to balance it out. Got to give some good news.
Please give some good news.
On the bad news front, unfortunately, last week had some pretty big outflows in the ETF side. Now, these outflows could potentially be blamed on people slowing down on the carry trade that hedge funds use and run. Basically, it's going long futures, earning the carry, and then buying the spot, or short futures, earning the carry, and then buying the spot. But as you can see, the basis here, which is the difference between futures and spot, has been decreasing. So many people have attributed the reduction in ETF flows to this carry trade that has been unwound. Network activity on Bitcoin was also at a 12-month low, right? Now, it's good or bad depending on which way you look at it, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it suggests people are just buying and hodling.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good.
Which seems to be the case right now with ETFs and everything. Essentially, like they'll just go and store it with a custodian, and less people are using Bitcoin to transact, right?
Yeah,
as a medium of exchange. Obviously, it's not good for the miners, but be that as it may. On the good news side, last week there were some disclosures from the holders of the IBIT shares, which are the BlackRock IBIT ETF. And take a look at some of these names here and the allocations. Goldman holds 1.2 billion. Millennium, which is a massive hedge fund, holds 2.6. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund.
Yes, this was something that came out last week. Abu Dhabi is buying
Bidding big,
BTC.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
State of Wisconsin, Two-Door Investments. And then also at the same time, we got news that State Street and Citi will be offering crypto custody services.
Okay, so we're basically seeing this is a direct downstream result of SAB 121 being finally repealed.
Exactly, and this is very bullish because it means institutions can now hold Bitcoin through these regulated custodians, which is something that their mandates require as an investment manager. And then some other news here. We've also got a supply shock potentially. This is basically the Bitcoin sell side liquidity. So that's Bitcoin on US exchanges, minor holdings, and OTC desks. And you can see that slowly trending lower. So
okay.
On the supply side, that's looking good. Also on the demand side, we could potentially have about $23 billion of buy pressure coming from states, US states. And VanEck pulled together this list of potential states that could either accumulate Bitcoin spot or through the ETFs. 23 billion is a lot of buying pressure, especially if you are having reductions in supply.
Yeah.
And then one more thing on the macro front, we have a bull flattening on the yield curve. So basically what that means is that the 10-year, which is the long end rates, are falling faster than the short end 2-year rates. And this is generally a sign that is generally quite bullish for risk assets. It means that inflation expectations on the long end are falling faster, potentially as a result of Trump's target of bringing down the 10-year yield. So that's generally considered bullish for risk assets like Bitcoin. So that's a bull flattening of the term structure.
Okay, so I mean there's plenty of positives to look there, and that's before you even touch on things like the regulatory front. Obviously, we're starting to see progress on that, as we mentioned with SAB 121. It's also worth mentioning Coinbase's earnings came out last week, and they were pretty good.
Yeah,
in fact, they were very good.
Massively over expectations as well. Yeah. On top of Robinhood's, remember, Robinhood's was a week before that.
Yeah.
And their crypto earnings were up 200%. The Coinbase's revenue was up 200%. And it smashed through expectations. So, they're printing, which is good. So quickly, just looking at some charts, I think that also right now, last week it was a lot of chop. But I think it's also important what's the famous saying? When in doubt,
zoom out.
Zoom out. So let's take a look at some really long-term charts here. So this is basically the weekly chart of Bitcoin and the 200 period or the 200-week moving average. Now, what's interesting is that one of the indicators of where we could potentially be with the top in a cycle is when the 200-week moving average passes through the previous all-time high. Okay. And this marked the top nearly exactly for the 2017 cycle and the 2021 cycle.
Right.
And if you take a look now, we are still the 200-week moving average is still quite some way away from the 61,000, which we were at the previous cycle top. So that's good news. And then potentially also looking at the weekly, zooming in a little bit more on this chart, you can take a look that does not look like a bearish pattern, right? Although it is a bit of sideways chop, it's still, in an uptrend. It's still a bullish structure with higher highs and higher lows. So it's still looking bullish on the long-term charts.
Yeah, but it has to be said, like obviously, we've had some really good price action recently.
Yeah.
But a chart like that, I think, kind of sums up the position that crypto is in at the moment, because this is a market that kind of thrives on attention, and when prices are going up, obviously everyone's happy, everyone's engaged. But even when prices are sort of going down, you also see a lot more engagement. A lot of people are looking to buy the dip. A lot of people are just trying to find out, why their portfolios are going down so badly or whatever it is. But when it's choppy like this, I mean, it's harder for traders to trade.
There's no momentum, exactly. Yeah, there's no narrative. So now it's basically like waiting for potentially the next narrative. Who knows what it's potentially people are looking at the Bitcoin strategic reserve. I mean, I don't know how likely that is now. And then there's what else? Potentially regulations, so there's no massive catalyst yet. There's also questions around liquidity with the Fed coming down, ending QT and all this, but that's still quite some way away. Before moving on, guys, one thing to note, if you are obviously looking for day-to-day trading and analysis, then I will, of course, refer you to the one and only Coin Bureau Trading with our 3 trading pros over there, Dan, Mariano, and Aaron. They've got some videos out now already, and you can, of course, subscribe using that QR code right there in the top right. So go and do that right now.
check those guys out. And also, Dan was on last week's episode of NFA Live.
He jumped into the breach to pull in for you.
Exactly. I was traveling. I was returning that day, and he was very well received. Did an excellent job. So I think that might be it for me on NFA. I think I might have lost my berth on there, which is a shame. It's tricky out there at the moment. Even in Bitcoin land, there's lots to be bullish about, but also some headwinds and stuff.
What's the sentiment looking like? What's the comments like?
The sentiment in the chat, I've seen it a lot worse. Galaxy Nick says we're all going to make it, which is good. Gene Francis, apparently Swindon still sucks, but President Milei sucks more. People are. He's
really fallen off when he fucks more than Swindon.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for anyone from Swindon.
Exactly that. When will people leave the casino? Only when they leave the space for good. I think there's a lot of that sort of sentiment around. People are, and don't worry, we are going to talk about the casino and the cabal and everything else around that's been happening. But before we get onto that, we need to talk about some more positive stuff.
Before we do, though, guys, you got to hit the like, of course, and subscribe, of course.
Yes.
Like, and if we get, what are we going to do? If we get to 1,500 likes in this stream, you remember Guy told you he's got an interesting story about his crypto trip.
Oh yeah,
it was a trip where you were trying to get away from crypto and you basically fell into crypto in some way.
Yeah, so I basically left the country for a few days to try and get away from crypto. You can't get away from crypto, and I will tell you why and what happened. But hit that like button. If we get to 1,500 likes, I will let you know all about it, and how Mrs. Guy was not happy. Okay, but first, let's talk about some more good news. Now, obviously, everything that's happening on the regulatory front in the US opens up the intriguing possibility that we could, at some point, probably this year, end up with some more spot altcoin ETFs.
Indeed, yeah. So take a look at this great Christmas tree of gifts here, I like to call it. It's the total list of all of these pending spot altcoin ETFs over from Bloomberg Terminal. And we've got stuff in there. We've got Trump, actually. It's a lot. Bonk, obviously a lot of Solana, HBAR, quite a few others there. So that's a list of all of the ETFs that are pending. So what I think we'll do is we'll go through some of the biggest cryptocurrencies, the most likely of approvals. And we'll obviously start with Solana. Which are multiple firms have thrown their hat into the ring on the Solana ETF. For example, last week, the Grayscale acknowledged, the SEC acknowledged Grayscale's conversion. So basically, the SEC is now acknowledging it, which is great. So it's the first time a spot SOL ETF bid has actually advanced to the formal review stage. And then soon after that, the SEC also acknowledged Canary Capital's Solana ETF application. Okay. So on the February 11th.
And as pointed out in that previous tweet, the SEC under Gary Gensler wouldn't even acknowledge that these applications have been filed.
Exactly.
Which gives you a sense of how the regime change there is proceeding.
Exactly. A credit to UADA and the Hester Pierce.
Yeah.
Pantera Capital, obviously a large hedge fund, saying that the Solana ETFs could be a massive boon for Sol and Sol's ecosystem. So that's their view on it.
Okay.
Which is true. Next up, the XRP army, Ripple. Several asset managers are pursuing a spot XRP ETF, despite the complex legal status.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably likely that the case against Ripple, that is still ongoing.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it, that will probably be dropped, but kind of until it is, there's going to be that uncertainty around XRP's status.
100% it is. But nevertheless, there are still a lot of applications out there. Arcus filed for their 19B forms to list 19B4 forms to list Grayscale's XRP Trust as an ETF.
Okay.
And then there's at least 5 other ETFs, XRP ETFs that have been moved forward by, I believe, another exchange. And this is also interesting. This was from JP Morgan 2 weeks ago. This is basically, they ran an analysis on the potential inflows we could see to Sol and XRP ETFs based on the comparables of Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs. So potential penetration of the total Ethereum ETF AUM versus market cap. And on the XRP side, they estimate anything from 4.3 to 8.4 billion in inflows. And on the Solana side, anything from 2.7 to 5.2 billion. So that's quite substantial for an asset of the size of XRP, or
not to be sniffed at.
Not to be sniffed at.
Yeah, that would definitely help. Okay, another crypto that is now being discussed as a possible spot ETF contender is none other than Cardano's ADA.
Damn straight.
Yeah. So Arca has proposed. Well, there's been a rule change proposed for Cardano ETF, which allows the listing of commodity-based trust shares.
Yeah.
So, and this was because the SEC, ADA was one of the cryptos labeled as a security by the SEC in 2023.
Yeah, and some lawsuits there. Although, to be honest, those are also likely to be dropped. It's also potentially bullish for Cardano in the sense that ADA could be staked as a staking crypto.
Okay.
And there's lots of talk about potentially launching staked ETPs and ETFs, specifically on the Ethereum side. So if there's other cryptocurrencies that can be staked, that's good for them as well.
Okay. And this is something that has been talked about a bit as well, this idea of launching staking ETFs, because obviously institutions, they want a yield. They want to be able to get the benefits of staking rewards via ETFs. If that happens, I mean, do you think that's something that would make a difference if we did get altcoin ETFs that allowed for staking?
I think the most important thing for institutional investors is the actual asset itself, underlying it, right? So whether there is a stake in yield, it's not as important as what's the potential capital appreciation. This is why some people are very bullish on the potential of Ethereum ETFs that can be staked.
Right.
With stake and yield. I don't think that's necessarily going to do much, because there are other ETFs in other countries that have stake in pass through, and they haven't seen that much uptake.
Yeah.
So it's more around, why would I hold this as an asset as opposed to, it's giving me a 3% yield? Because 3% yield, I mean, what do you earn on treasuries, right? Yeah. What do you earn on a money market fund? So if you think ETH is going down, it doesn't matter what stake you're going to get, right?
Very true. Very true. Okay, well, another crypto that is that's been talked about and could be one of the closest to getting approval for a spot ETF of its own is Granddaddy Litecoin.
None other than Litecoin. Crazy, yeah. And this is because its regulatory status is clear. It's been labeled a commodity by the SEC and CFTC. And it was the first to get acknowledged than most of the others. The Bloomberg ETF analysts say that it's at third base, so a baseball term, I think. Litecoin has really been a strong performer over the past month compared to many of the other altcoins out there.
And that is mostly around ETF speculation. So it looks like that could be next.
Yep. Yeah. One more thing to look at, the chances of approvals. For the first one is the Bloomberg ETF analysts themselves. So you can see there the most likely they think is the Litecoin one.
90% chance of approval in 2025. All right.
Then, interestingly, Doge comes before Solana and XRP.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that's their likelihood. And then, of course, we can also source the wisdom of the crowd, that is Polymarket. And here they've got, they've got Ripple ETF approved in 2025. So whoever created that market, whoever bet $40,000 on a Ripple ETF without naming it XRP, not very, the crowd doesn't have that much wisdom. But those are the likelihoods on Polymarket.
Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it, that of all those cryptos, of all the cryptos currently being considered for spot ETFs, Solana is the newest of the lot. And I mean, Solana in the grand scheme of things isn't that new. It's been around for a few years now. So it seems to be a case of mostly these older cryptos. And of course, it would, from that point of view, it would make sense because Litecoin is pretty much the oldest of the lot after Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that's still around.
The original OG silver to Bitcoin's gold.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, this is something to be positive about. I think that at some point this year, because we really need, going back to what we were talking about with Bitcoin. At the moment there is no catalyst. There's no I've seen some people refer to it as a kind of North Star, like the Bitcoin strategic reserve that has not been talked about much recently. That seems to be,
it's devolved into considering a potential digital asset stockpile. Considering doing research into a
so I think kind of the wind has gone out of the sails of that one. And the inauguration is past us. We know there are regulations coming, but I think we also realize that the legislature works very slowly, so we're not necessarily going to get regulations overnight.
Yeah.
So I think really what the whole market needs, and that goes for Bitcoin as well as altcoins, is just another catalyst, or we're going to get more chop like this, I think.
Yeah. Which brings us on to
yes,
the wall of fame and shame.
Yeah.
Bro.
Okay.
Wow.
The walls of, oh my, what is this?
Who's that?
That photo alone deserves a spot on the wall of shame.
Your eye, bro. This is AI fail. What the hell did they do to my face? Jesus.
So bizarre. Okay, so wall of fame and shame. It's just going to be a wall of shame this week, folks, because it's just been one of those weeks, and we're just putting the entire crypto industry on it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, more specifically, I would think we nailed down on the meme coin. The meme coin industrial complex that just basically churns it out. The launch pads, the influence, the shillers, the projects, all of it. I think because it has just really sucked a lot of the life and liquidity out of the crypto markets right now. And obviously, this is all as it relates to the story we get into. But obviously, prior to that, a lot of the discussion has just been, there was a time at which people were discussing the benefits potentially of meme coins and, this community-driven kind of thing that gives this culture. And right now, it's just the most extractive thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it is. It has gone too far. So I guess the seeds of this were sown just a few weeks ago when the Trump meme coin launched, followed immediately by the MELANIA meme coin. And the MELANIA meme coin is going to have some reference in what we're about to talk about.
The Central African Republic meme coin.
Yep. So, and as someone pointed out on Twitter, it went from random developers launching meme coins, then it was celebrities launching meme coins.
Random developers, crypto influencers, celebrity influencers, presidents, and now nation states.
Yeah. So, as someone pointed out, I think the next thing is a planet launching its own meme coin.
Jupiter Dex.
There we are. So we got that to look forward to. But yeah, obviously, this is the absolute shit show, for want of a better term, that is Libra. So this was the cryptocurrency, the meme coin, launched and promoted by Argentinian President Javier Milei.
Mm-hmm.
So he tweeted about it, and including the website address and the contract address.
Contrato, yeah.
And so he endorsed this, and then shortly afterwards deleted the post, which obviously did not kind of burst the bubble in a big way.
Yeah.
And as the price crashed, he started to distance himself from it. Now, apparently, this coin was aimed at this is according to the Associated Press, aimed at encouraging economic growth by funding small businesses and startups.
Yeah,
in Argentina.
Noble.
Yeah, kind of a noble aim, I guess. They obviously hadn't done their homework when it comes to meme coins, because this is the kind of bullshit that gets trotted out with so many of these meme coin launches, isn't it? Oh, there's going to be a community around it. Oh, it's going to do this. It's not just a meme coin. It's a thing. No, it's a meme coin. It's as you said, Nick, it's purely extractive, and that's what this turned out to be. But there were red flags early on. Yeah,
there were red flags. So analysts flags the project's flaws. For instance, the website was only started a few hours ago, or launched a few hours ago. If you wanted to apply to get funding for your company in Argentina, it was linked to a Google form. So
right,
very professional.
Nothing
Google
to
form.
See here.
There were also on-chain warnings. I mean, for example, 50% of the supply was held in a single wallet. Bubble Maps warned that 82% of Libra's supply was also unlocked and available for immediate sale. They also pointed out that people behind the MELANIA launch were also involved here. So there were connections to the wallets. It surged to a $4.5 billion market cap before crashing to 94% within hours. So literally, I went to sleep. I didn't even see anything about this. I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, it was already zero. In the span of like less than 6-7 hours, it all happened.
I mean, you were lucky. You didn't have to see all this happen.
I know. I didn't have to see this going on.
Didn't have to watch this nonsense unfold.
8 wallets linked to the Libra team siphoned off $107 million, of course. And there's the list of it. And some of those obviously are linked to MELANIA. Yeah, I mean, Milei was accused of fraud.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there are lawyers in Argentina, and this is obviously something that's kind of developing all the time. So as it's kind of, as that part of the world is sort of waking up, I imagine there will be more developments on this story over the next, well, certainly over the next 24 hours, but over the next few days and weeks, I'm sure. So this is by no means over. But yeah, obviously opposition politicians in Argentina are jumping on this. Lawsuits are coming. And yeah, I mean, it's fair to say Milei is in quite a lot of trouble here.
Yeah. I mean, and also impeachment potentially.
Yeah. And if that happens, of course, now if lawsuits are brought and the lid is lifted on this, on this dumpster fire, so to speak, then there's going to be a lot more details coming out.
It's regularly, the news flow is just going to continue throughout the week. And it's interesting. Okay, so that's just what the start of the story. That was just 2 days ago. Okay, you guys, that's what happened. And then what's happened subsequent to that. This is actually just in the last 24 hours. So a guy called Hayden Davis, who's from Kelsier Ventures. Now he comes out and makes a statement. First of all, I will note that I don't know why he's wearing a Gryffindor like hoodie. Or like a Power Rangers, he's got a bodysuit underneath him. Like, some of the comments were hilarious.
Yeah, it's so like, bizarre.
This is the most important statement of your life, bro. A life-changing statement, and you come out, and what he wore was the least of his worries, because what he said there, like for example, he said something like, "Oh, there was farming taking place. Watch your wording." I mean, I would advise to speak to legal professionals before making statements like this.
This is the SBF playbook. Like, have you guys learned nothing? I mean, like, SBF came out, after FTX collapse, he just came out and started talking without speaking to his lawyers, and this was proved in court to be a really bad idea. Here's this Wally. Like, I mean, who is this guy?
No one knew who he was, to be honest. I mean, but
no one has heard.
He was a market maker. He was on the market making side. Apparently, he was tasked with the launch. He'd been involved in a few other projects. It's quite deep. He was connected to the Meteora team. They were referring him to particular projects. He did have a solution. He would inject the funds into the chart. Now, I don't know how he thinks it's going to happen to make it right, because there's no other way to make this right unless you go through every single wallet that bought and sold, and find in a way to get the profits from the people who sold, and then like making a claims. It's the biggest disaster. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for him to a degree, because it's like, what is he going to do now? Like, his life is, in the sense that, obviously it's his mistake and all this kind of stuff, but I do not want to be in his position, right?
No. I mean, this is, he's got himself into a right pickle. It's fair to say. I mean, like I say, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know how someone like this, who no one's ever heard of, ends up, mixed up with something like this. I mean, this is a country we're talking about. This isn't some airheaded celebrity who's launching their own
leader,
Memecoin.
man.
This isn't some just moron. This is like a country. Country launching its own Memecoin.
It's not, and it wasn't also, just to try to clarify, it also wasn't just on Twitter. He also shared it on Instagram, so it was fully agreed upon. I mean, of course he's one of the main characters here. He's in the sense that he was the market maker. He was involved in the launch, but there was other people. There was Kip Protocol, who was apparently tasked with distributing the funds. No one's really heard of these guys. And then there was also all the KOLs, which we'll get to. Well, we'll get onto right now. But the point of the matter is, his solutions aren't really going to work, and I don't know why he would have gone on incriminating himself like that.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously, this being crypto, the story is kind of already pretty weird. And I like the fact that this guy turns up with, basically in fancy dress to make this statement. But of course, this being crypto, it only gets weirder. It only gets more surreal. And I think one particular moment is when we had an appearance from a man who is now crypto's kind of newest main character after this Hayden chap, and that's none other than Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
So Dave Portnoy is involved in this.
Yeah, he was sent. So basically, he went and said that he was initially contacted. He was told there was going to be some launch. A lot of people had said before that they'd heard about a particular launch. I certainly hadn't, and that there'd been rumblings about for months. And he said that they reached out to him and offered to get him involved, interview Milei, all this kind of stuff. And then he bought some tokens on launch. But he also said that they gave him, 5 million worth of tokens. an OTC over the, after the launch and the gold. He said, okay, great, I've got these tokens. So now I'm going to go and tweet that I've got these tokens. And with the team, I was given tokens, etc. And they said, no, don't disclose that. So, undisclosed short. So then
he was told, Dave Portnoy, and actually I have to say, like, Dave Portnoy was on our wall of shame last week for his Memecoin shenanigans. But actually he comes out pretty well. He was told to do undisclosed shilling of the project and said, I'm not going to do that.
And he sent it back,
So he sent the tokens. I think it was between something like 6 million or 6.5 million actual tokens that he was sent. And he sent them back when he was asked to do this undisclosed shilling. But as he said, he believed in the project. He believed that Milei was kind of fully behind this thing. So he then bought $5 million worth of tokens on launch after Milei tweeted. He said he would have bought $10 million if he could. But then obviously, that money disappeared when the chart got absolutely nuked. The crazy thing is this guy, Hayden, then reimbursed him.
Exactly. And what's more, this opens up a whole can of worms. And that's basically to the effect that Dave Portnoy was definitely not the only individual who was given allocation behind the scenes. And usually these people get these allocations sent because it's undisclosed. They get it sent to wallets that aren't their public wallets. And there was other people, lots of rumors around who these particular KOLs could be. I think that this is, it's massively backfired on them right now. And you can, quite rightly, as it should. And of course, it's opened up this whole Solana meme coin debate. And there's this chart that they've calculated here in terms of the total value extracted from the memes on Solana. So you include bots, Pump.Fun, MEV, Trump insiders, etc. A total of 3.6 to 6.6 billion has left. That's not coming back. That's gone straight out into Swiss bank accounts, buying yachts and jets and all that kind of stuff for the people who are involved in this stuff.
Complete value extraction. Can we just have a look at this tweet from Based Carbon that was going back to this idea of influencers involved, who was behind this. So as they pointed out, they were sending out millions of dollars worth of unlocked tokens to influencers with the coin at a $4.5 billion fully diluted valuation, $180 million of USDC in the liquidity pool. And the chart got absolutely nuked. People were shilling this at launch. People knew about this. They were talking about it. They weren't disclosing the fact that they got sent these tokens.
And some people saying, "Oh, we lost money." Yeah, but bro, I mean, you lose money on your public wallet. That's good for show. But what's gone on behind the scenes? So there is a list out there. I assume it potentially made public, but good.
Yeah. I think we need to know who was involved in this. Obviously, there are a lot of names being put about. Some very well-known usual suspects. We should know who was, because this just cannot go on.
No.
Like this is just and I think it's worth saying at this point, like it's very easy, I think, to blame, to apportion blame in a situation like this. Kind of everyone's to blame here. Like people who bought it are to blame. They shouldn't, like, especially people who were experienced crypto people. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail when we look at tweets of the week and things like that. But if you're in crypto, if you know anything about how crypto works and how it works nowadays, and you bought into this and you lost money, you deserve to. You're an idiot. The insiders who are buying into this as well. There's
and not only that, the insiders who willingly brag on, in public forums that they are an insider.
Yeah.
And don't think that what they're doing and trading on inside information is insider trading, which is a crime.
Yeah. But of course, there is blame to be apportioned here to the likes of, to the fact that there are no clear regulations around this. And I suppose it's easy to say, well, this is the SEC's fault. This is kind of the SEC's fault, or certainly Gary Gensler's fault, because for the last few years, the SEC has been going after legitimate crypto projects. It's been going after the likes of Coinbase and Uniswap and Binance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's left this regulatory vacuum, and the scammers have expanded into it. And this is why this sort of nonsense is happening. This is why these people feel like, you've got people admitting on streams, admitting in tweets that they have been insider trading. Yes. That they knew about this coin, like MELANIA, things like that. And they're admitting it because they know they can get away with it.
Well, they think they can get away with it. One thing I will say, and this is what I think is the positive slant to look at here, is the fact that, first of all, the crypto community is now turning on these people. They're going after them. And if you are a publicly doxed individual who's known to have scammed a lot of people, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes any day of the week. No money is worth that at all. You know, it's sleeping soundly at night from a morals perspective, but also a safety perspective is something I value. So it's no amount of money that's worth that. And also, even if they think they can get away with it in the current regulatory regime or or a vacuum, the blockchain is immutable, i.e. it's there forever. So, you know, if you do something now that's, illegal or unethical, doesn't mean that in 4 years' time, when they change, you get some new regulators on board, when they change the rules, that they're not going to come after you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the wheels of justice turn very slowly. So whether or not the people involved with this will actually, be punished for what they've done, I don't know. I mean, I feel very cynical about the whole space at the moment because, it is just more of this, this environment where people feel that they're able to do this. And I would love to see the people behind this punished for what they've done. At the moment, I just wonder whether they ever will be. Like, it just seems that crime is legal.
If you think that, that's, watch the entire copy, because we didn't even get onto it yet, but the CoffeeZilla did an interview with this guy yesterday, and he's incriminating himself even more. And what he says is so depressing because it's such a financial nihilistic approach. Like meme coins, no crypto is worth anything. Crypto is not, it's just to make from Bitcoin, it's not worth anything. It's just what people say it is. Therefore, meme coins are like Bitcoin, and everyone here is trying to make money. And if they only complain if they're not an insider, if they are an insider, they wouldn't be complaining. And he also admitted that he's happy to go and snipe the liquidity of snipe the coin on his own launch. He also said that I mean, there was also an admission here actually, which is interesting, that he said that some people got early access to the Trump meme coin through a private dinner. So he went on there and incriminated himself even more. But it's just crazy what things are turning out right now. And this meme coin, like I said, industrial complex, it needs to stop.
It absolutely stinks. We are leaving a link. We've already tweeted out some of the highlights from that CoffeeZilla interview. So if you go to our Twitter page, you'll be able to see those. We're also leaving a link in the description, the full interview that CoffeeZilla does with this guy, Hayden. And if you've got an hour or so after this stream, I do recommend watching it. It's if you can stomach it, because as Nick says, it's pretty sickening. Before we move on, I just want to bring up a couple of other points here. I thought that there's obviously everyone's got their take on this at the moment. I thought this was a really good take from Camila Russo, the founder of the Defiant. Obviously, she wrote the book, one of the books on Ethereum. I just want to pick out this first bit. What's most disgraceful about Libra is that the scammers behind it preyed on the hope that many in the Argentina crypto ecosystem have, that this technology can actually make a difference in the country with more official/government support. And this is, I mean, saying that buyers, people who bought this thing deserve everything that's coming to them. I stand by that. I would say that there would have been some people, especially in Argentina, who saw President Milei tweeting about it and bought it in the innocent expectation of making a profit. And obviously, Argentina is a country where a lot of people have been suffering. Where the population has been suffering for years from hyperinflation and its effects. And this only makes it more disappointing because there will have been kind of innocent people, if you like, who've suffered from this. And in a country where crypto adoption was really coming on leaps and bounds, and this is going to set it back in Argentina and elsewhere. And I think that's just a miserable shame. So Camila Russo, I think, has every right to be angry there. Also, another interesting take on this from DeFi legend and your fellow South African Nick, Andre Cronje.
Yeah, basically. So he's TLDR is he's basically saying, well, if this was a traditional ICO, the ones that we saw a la, the 2017 cycle, he says he's confident that they would have raised 120 million and they would have had wouldn't have had any of the negative activity associated with the meme coin. Basically, they could have put $30 million into liquidity and they could have used some of the funds to go and invest in these projects in Argentina. And basically, it would have been okay. But obviously, ICOs no longer can't be done because of SEC regulations, coming back to your point. So they've gone from one angle where you had ICOs, which was semi-egalitarian. There were scams in the 2017 cycle, but some were egalitarian. Ethereum ICO was richly rewarding for the initial participants. But now you've gone, because of this this vacuum of regulations, to the complete end of the spectrum, to this meme coins casino, which is exactly what the regulations the SEC should have to protect consumers from.
Yeah.
So instead of having a legitimate framework for crowdfunding of crypto technology like an ICO, you've got the meme coin casino.
It's madness. It's madness. And like, okay, the ICOs get a lot of heat. You know, there were a lot of ridiculous ICOs that ended up extracting a lot of value. But so many of those early ICOs were genuinely trying to build something useful. Yeah. And some of them, like Ethereum and others, have stuck around and are useful. Yeah. This just isn't even making any pretense of building something useful. It is just 100% value extraction, and it stinks.
Moving on some positive news, though. Have you guys heard about our brand partners?
Yes. Speaking of two crypto-related projects that have built something useful.
Very useful. Yeah, exactly. We'd like to give a shout out to our brand partners, of course, for supporting the stream. One of them, of course, is Binance, the biggest crypto exchange in the world. And you can get a exclusive 20% trading fee discount for life, as well as a $600 bonus by using the link in the description. Mm-hmm. And if you are feeling a bit, picky and trying to pick up some altcoins that are really undersold, and you want to store it or secure it in the best, safest cold wallet there is, recommend the Ledger device. So this is our second brand partner, Ledger, and you can buy. They've got Ledger Flex and Ledger Stacks, the two latest devices. Really, you're going to do a.
We're going to do an unboxing and setup guide to these pretty soon. Yeah, two great devices, and yeah, they've made a lot of leaps forward in terms of UX, which I think is really important for crypto. So,
and I'll also note Ledger. you get a $10 gift card when you purchase one of these ledgers using the Coin Bureau link down below.
That's in the description too. Yeah. Okay, so thanks to our brand partners, Binance and Ledger. Buy it on Binance, secure it on Ledger. Exactly. Okay, let's have a look at last week's top performers. For obviously Libra wasn't one of them.
Thank God.
that would have really stuck in the throat, wouldn't it? Okay, so first up from last week's top performance. Now this is one I haven't seen in the list for a very long time. This is PancakeSwap.
Yeah, I mean, this is all of the BNB season. We've now moved to the BNB season, right? Yeah. This is all related to CZ tweeting about his dog Broccoli, right?
So he did tweet about his dog Broccoli. But he also tweeted this story about how they were testing out something on the BNB chain. They had a sort of test meme coin, and that news of that got out, and it ran up to a $500 million market cap.
Ooh, that's not a very good look, though.
So CZ tweeted about that. If you see at the end of that tweet as well, he sort of talks about everything that happens, and then says "Happy trading." CZ, please.
What market cap was that? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that is why obviously PancakeSwap and its Cake token have been benefiting from all the activity around those meme coins and just sort of general activity on BNB chain. Yep. Okay.
Next is Sonic, which is previously FTM, so Phantom. And this has been surging, I think, because of the DeFi TVL on Sonic has been surging lately. And it's also got decent stake in APR compared to many of the other layer ones, about 6%. Yeah, which is decent. We need to do an update on Sonic soon for sure.
Yeah, I've actually seen quite a lot of kind of good sentiment around Sonic. Yeah. It seems to actually, because I think the rebrand, obviously from Phantom to Sonic, a lot of people were sort of like rebrand, but the people seem to be talking about it in glowing terms.
And Andre Cronje, the DeFi degen legend himself. Yeah.
Okay, next up of last week's top performers is Lido. Kind of tricky to see any real catalyst on this. They have got a V3 upgrade, the V3 upgrade coming soon, but that's really all I could find about that. Then next up we have
Ronin, this is potentially related to the pre-sale of Fableborn Kingdoms, which is a game on Ronin. It seems to have been oversubscribed. Yeah. So demand is driven there from that game pre-sale.
Yeah. And our last of the top performers last week is Casper and Cass. Again, hard to pinpoint a particular catalyst, but Coinbase Advanced recently announced perpetual futures listing for CAS.
Yeah.
So that'll be driving it. CAS got listed on Binance towards the end of last year as well, which kind of helped it surge. So these sorts of announcements can often be pretty bullish.
Yeah, and CAS is also one of the proof of work coins. Still one of the profitable to mine proof of work coins, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at some tweets of the week, as usual. So first up, this one from Udi Wertheimer.
Yeah, he says, I really don't like the airdrop model, man. I mean, I think if people want tokens, they should pay for them. Nothing good comes from handing out exposure for free. And I think this is probably in relation to Berachain, etc. Right?
Yes, gosh, yeah. I mean, obviously, Berachain was a big launch last week. Again, FUD around the airdrop. I mean, I see where he's coming from on this. I mean, that said, we had seen some fairly successful airdrops. The Hyperliquid airdrop was fairly successful. I think
that's true.
The Pudgy Penguins airdrop, obviously, Pengu is down real bad. But I remember that, we were talking about that airdrop a few weeks ago, seemed to go pretty well. Maybe because virtually everyone got some Pengu.
That's true. But also, if you took a look at the floor price of the Penguin NFT collection itself, it kind of fell after that. So I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's like, I don't know if there'll ever be an airdrop that can, well, Hyperliquid is one potentially, but the Uniswap one, when it was first in vogue, then the excitement was around there. Now it's basically like, it's very, very, very hard to structure an airdrop campaign that isn't attacked by Sybils. And if you do structure one that's, it's very stringent, then you're going to have a lot of blowback. So it's very difficult.
Yeah. And nothing pisses people off more than when they don't get as much free money as they were expecting. Yeah. That's crypto, folks. Okay. Next up is this one from Vitalik.
Yeah.
Vitalik not really nailing the shitposting game on this one. Make communism great again.
Yeah, apparently this was in reference to a blog post of his 2 years ago when he made a joke about it, and it's quite ambitious of him to think that crypto Twitter reads his blog posts from 2 years ago, philosophizing on like. But I mean, it didn't come at the best time. Read the room. I mean, he's trying to be funny, but it's just last place you want to be posting jokes like that is crypto Twitter.
Communism is not very popular in general, but it is not popular at all on crypto Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, now this next one, this is Plan B. So this is interesting. This goes back to something we were talking about a little earlier. Plan B, famous Bitcoin bull, has transferred all his Bitcoin to ETFs.
Yeah, really interesting. And credit to him for actually being willing to disclose this fully, because he knew that he'd risk the ire of Bitcoin maxis, which he did. I say to him, it's Bitcoin is about freedom. It's his right to do what he wants with these coins.
Yeah.
And I think that his argument here is because it's a lot more convenient for it to have him his coins to be, or his assets to be in one location with his share trading account, which is true. It is. And, I think that the question should not be, why is he doing this? It's more like, how do we as a crypto community make the UX of getting and cold storing crypto and Bitcoin so easy that you don't have to worry about all these risks that do come with self-custody. Now, I will caveat that I self-custody. I still say to people they should, but I can understand why people would want to hold it in a place where it's all convenient to have with their other assets, right?
Yeah.
And their other the stocks, etc., in your share trading account.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think, an interesting sort of point of where we are in sort of crypto's adoption and stuff. Like, I must say, I'm surprised to see this, but as you say, I can kind of understand some of his reasoning. But I'm still a kind of not your keys, not your crypto sort of chap. But anyhow, okay, let's move on. This next one is David Phelps. Incredible, honestly. People in crypto now hate crypto even more than people out of crypto.
Because, Guy, we exist this place 24/7, to be honest. I mean, if people just watch that segment we did on the Libra coin and they have nothing to know about crypto, they probably would be like, okay, God, I'm not touching this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Actually, I know there are some professional crypto haters out there, but very few who actually follow this. And I always find this, like, you step out of the bubble and people have no idea. Like, I remember last year explaining dog with hat to someone, and they were like, "What?" They'd not even heard of it. I think this is very true.
I think also it's because we're very angry because it is a bastardization of the sector we're so passionate about, right?
Yeah.
And technology we're so passionate about, and people are just using it as a mass extraction event. People who have no care about it, they have no incentive other than just enrichment, right?
Yeah. Okay. Before we look at another tweet of the week, can I just remind you folks, if we get to those 1,500 likes, I will tell you all about my experience last week when I tried just to get away from crypto for a few precious hours, and it was denied me. So hit that like button, por favor. But the last tweet of the week I want to look at is this one from Kobe, Crypto OG. Again, this is a pretty long one, but just the gist of it is the main new development is that market participants are now moth-like. They actively rush into these scams, mostly knowing that they are scams, because the goal is to flip the scam for a 3x to somebody else.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what I was saying about the people who kind of knowingly bought into this Javier Milei, this Libra meme coin. It's like, well, yeah, the attention has now frayed to the point that people are just trying to flip this stuff. And if you try to flip these things, it never ends well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there are always going to be people sniping it quicker. There are always going to be, and that's before you even count in the fact that all the insiders are dumping on you.
These guys move so much more quickly than you can ever imagine. There's insiders, there's people with these bots that can snipe this liquid, they can snipe the coin quicker than you can even fathom. And you think you over there with your deck screener, refreshing your deck screener and following the tweets of some insider group, you're going to have a competitive edge against them. You think sitting there in the trenches, basically you have some sort of an edge, because you're there all the time in the trenches, like getting some insights or anything and going studying your on-chain stuff. There's people with way more tools than you to extract as much liquidity as possible. And there's insiders. They got the edge. You don't.
Yeah. There's always some prick with a stupid hairstyle who is way ahead of you. Okay, let's have a look at some coins to watch for next week.
Yeah, so on the 21st of February, we've got TON now is becoming the exclusive blockchain and infra for the Telegram and messaging app and its mini ecosystem. So this is probably natural progression. Telegram has these slight connections to TON coin, and it's going to be the exclusive partnership for 2025. So this could potentially be good news for TON. Additional use cases in use for the blockchain.
Okay, seems like TON coin has been quite quiet recently.
Very quiet, yeah. It was all the rage last year, the beginning of last year.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. All right, and on the 24th of February, it's a big one for Ethereum. The Ethereum devs will start testing the code for the Pectra upgrade on a whole sky testnet.
There we go. Yeah.
So obviously Pectra is, I guess probably the sort of shining light on Ethereum's horizon at the moment.
Or the last chance saloon, depending which way you want to look at it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So it's going to be an important one. See how that goes. Yeah. That is coming down the pipe soon. Some dates for the diary as well. Tomorrow, 18th of February, I've heard, stop me if you've heard this one before, but apparently FTX will begin some reimbursements.
Yeah, but there's an important caveat here, and this is for all claims lower than 50K. And in total, in terms of total claim amount, it's relatively small, like in less than a bit. I was like, compared to the total claim amount. So I personally don't think it's going to have that much of an impact on the market until we start seeing the bigger claims coming in. Even though people, the smaller retail may bid, I don't think it's enough capital coming in right now to pump things up.
Yeah. Well, it will certainly be good news if people at least start getting some of their money back, because the sooner the FTX saga is wrapped up, the better. Okay, then on the 19th of February, on Wednesday.
Yeah, we've got the minutes from the FOMC meeting. So we'll hear what Jerome and his pals over at the Fed were saying in their meetings at the previous FOMC. And then on the February the 20th, we've got some economic data coming out, the initial jobless claims. So the previous number was 213K. And the forecast for this time is 215,000. So keep an eye on the forecast as well as the actual number that comes out that will impact on markets potentially.
Yeah. Okay. So how are we doing on the likes front, by the way? 760. What? Not even half.
Not even half.
You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Well, we'll have a look at some comments, and then if the
comments are thoughtful, then we may have to.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a couple of interesting ones that I wanted to flag up. This one, so from Phil S. I quite enjoyed this one. I wonder how those who fought in World War I would think about sitting in front of a screen buying imaginary money being called in the trenches. Do you know, I did sort of think something similar.
Catch
recently.
entrenchment versus, basically having to watch a screen for a bit longer than usual.
Yeah, it was like, just a little over 100 years ago, being in the trenches meant something a lot different to how it is today. It just shows how pathetic we've become.
Softies. Yeah,
absolute softies. I'm sure our great grandfathers or whoever were there would be absolutely appalled. This one I quite enjoyed as well. Agree with Guy. If you've been here around and bought that shit, you deserve it.
Amen. Yeah, personal responsibility, guys.
Yep. You got to take it. Okay. Let's see. I think that was about it for live comments. So shall I tell you what happened?
Yeah, let's.
Even though we didn't get enough likes.
Even though we didn't get it, let's hear it. Yeah.
Well, okay. So last week, Mrs. Guy and I, we decided to take a few days off, and we went to Sri Lanka. Ooh. Which I have to say, if you've never been there, absolutely beautiful place.
Nice.
It reminded me a bit of the Seychelles, just everything green, lovely place. But yeah, just wanted a few days away from crypto. So got there, not too bad a flight from Dubai. And as we got off the plane, we were searching for our taxi, the people stand with your names and stuff. I was looking for our names, and I saw someone with a Binance sign. And I was tired, and I was looking for, our taxi driver. So I didn't really think much of it. I was just, Binance. Yeah. And then, so we got to the hotel, which was about a 2-hour drive from the airport. Okay, so we went south to this quite nice hotel where we were booked. We needed good internet connection so I could do the live stream on Monday. Got there really late, went to bed. Next morning, get up for breakfast, go sitting in the hotel restaurant, having a lovely breakfast. And I look across, and there's a couple of people sitting there, and one of them's got like a Binance hat on. So I was like, oh God, Binance again. It's like that, and then I thought, yeah, Binance, they really are.
They get their merch. Their merch goes places, right here in Sri Lanka. People love their merch so much, right? Yeah.
So
the merch game's killing it.
So I was sitting there, and then sure enough, someone who I know who works at Binance comes up to the table. He's like, Guy, how you doing, man? Great to see you. I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, well, it's the Binance campus. So they were doing this event for kind of KOLs, people in the industry. Now, this is actually, we went to the Seychelles last year for the same thing. So they were doing the same event, but in a different place.
They thought you would initially thought you were there for that. Yeah. Guy was like, what are the chances, bro? The same day, the same weekend, out of 365 days in the year, the same country, the same hotel, 2 hours outside of the city. It's like, what are the chances? I'm like, run the numbers and the probability of that. You got more chances of making $1 million in coin.
No, it was crazy. So this guy was like, so you're here for the campus? I was like, no, I'm not here for the camp. I'm here on holiday. It was, it was kind of weird. Mrs. Guy was just sitting there, arms folded, and this chap we were talking to, very nice, very charming. So he said goodbye and wandered off. And Mrs. Guy was just like, are we going to be spending our entire stay here with crypto people? No, darling, I promise. I promise.
So you didn't get a lot of requests for photos with.
Actually, to be fair, some of the guys came up over the course. We were only there for like a couple of days. A few people came up and said hello. It was mostly KOLs from sort of India, places like that. So I chatted to a few guys, all really nice, all very complimentary. But it was quite chilled. But yeah, I just remember thinking, it's like just a couple of days away from crypto. It's impossible. It follows you around.
But this leads us to the most pressing question of all, Guy. Mm-hmm. How was your stomach after the Sri Lanka trip?
Oh yes, someone. Well, I don't want to give too much away. There were some interesting times. There were some dark times. There was some. It was it was interesting. But it was a great place. I did enjoy the food. I don't know if any of you have ever had Sri Lankan food, kotu.
What the hell is that?
It's a sort of curry dish, but it's got bits of roti bread in it and stuff and vegetable. Lovely.
Okay.
So
worth the struggle.
Absolutely worth the struggle. Yeah, worth the struggle. It was a really nice trip, but yeah, it was just so odd. I thought I was kind of hallucinating at first. It was just like, have I just accidentally come to a crypto conference by mistake?
Yeah.
But yeah, there we are.
Before we end of the stream, guys, I think because it's been such a dark day in crypto, I think it'd be good to end this off with a bit of a laugh, right? So I think I found this picture from Lion King. You guys want to put it up?
Oh, wow. Rolled through.
You guys know there's Simba. He's been the crypto guy is born. Behold.
Wow. Yeah, this is one of my. I was induced to share some of my photos.
There is an entire collection, guy.
Chap. Yeah, I think they all went up on Instagram a few years ago, but I'm glad you dug that one out.
Found that out, yeah.
Yeah.
So fitting. So hopefully the fans appreciate it.
Other than the addition of a beard, not an awful lot has changed. I mean, I've still got sort of resting bitch face or whatever they call it. Well, thanks for sharing that, guys. I'm sure that was worth it, worth the price of the stream alone. So we will be back next week.
Yep.
Let's hope that, well, a lot is going to happen in the intervening time, I think. So
only go up from here. Only.
Yeah.
I hope
so. But I imagine next week we will be talking more about this whole Libra thing, and maybe the lid will have been lifted.
Yeah. And some change will come, hopefully.
Yeah. Blow some fresh air. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
See you soon. Cheers, guys.
Guys, you can take the crypto out of the guy. There we go.